It starts with me on a train. I move from the door to a nearby seat between a drunk man napping and a frazzled young mother with 3 screaming children. I sit, and having forgotten to pick up a newspaper or pack a book, I stare uncomfortably at my knees. Realising I'm staring at my knees, and this might seem slightly odd behaviour, I decide to scratch at a phantom stain. As if, having thoroughly examined it from the 2.5 feet betwixt eye and knee, I've determined that fingernails are the best approach. Mid-scratch, I come to the realisation that if anybody is watching, they've seen me sit, stare at my knees, and then vigorously scratch one of them. Like some sort of performing artist creating a sight-sympathetic piece about a mildly autistic accountant with an itchy knee. I then come to the conclusion that nobody's actually watching and perhaps it would be best to stare out the opposite window. Unfortunately for me, the view to the opposite window is blocked by the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Her hair, blonde and straight with a slight wave, falls on the shoulders of her tastefully floral sundress, which is brilliantly complemented by light brown sandals with a slight heel. Wedges? I think they're called wedges. She, rather cleverly and rather unlike me, did bring a book and was reading said tome, delicately and deliberately nursed atop her pale, crossed knees. Craning my neck slightly, subtly, and that little bit painfully, I was able to make out the word Proust on the front cover of the book. Terrific, I thought. She's beautiful and she reads Proust on the Armadale line. Normally I wouldn't be so unsettled by an attractive human female reading dense novels by a homosexual French essayist on rundown Perth train lines, but today, being what it was, I was particularly perturbed. Perturbed wasn't appropriate to that situation, but I really like the alliterative qualities. So, today I was particularly perturbed because by seeing this See? By seeing this aesthetically appealing and apparently intellectual human female, I suddenly knew I could no longer stare out the window, and I needed to stare out the window in order to think. So I'd have to either find another window or find another pastime that doesn't require fresh thought. Or windows. And I realised that I've been sitting here, staring at my knees, scratching one of them, and now staring vacantly at a beautiful girl who had peered up from Proust to find a strange man staring at her like a goldfish. Staring at her. Oh God. Why was I staring at her? Why hadn't I looked away? I should have looked away when I noticed that she was blocking the window. Oh God, how long have I been on this train of thought? Oh God, how long have I been on this train? I flash a nervous smile and go back to my knees. Realising that this has the potential to begin my performance of Phantom Stain on Random Train all over again, I begin to fling my gaze around the cabin desperately for something to stare at. It's while I'm looking that I have a hard realisation. My performance never stopped. It was still going. Anyone who's watched me had seen me sit on a seat which I was hoping I was only imagining to be damp. Stare at my knees, scratch one of them, look up, gasp, nervously smile, look back at my knees, gasp again, and then fling my head around like I was trying to use eye lasers to kill an imaginary mosquito. With a jolt, the train slows and stops. Time slows down. The train has been thrown from the tracks. Floor and ceiling exchange places. Walls and windows flash. There is smoke. Fearing the end, I clench my fists, close my eyes tight, and scream at the top of my lungs, "Ah!" Silence. I slowly open my eyes to see a small Vietnamese family staring at me. Oh God. I look out the window to see the landscape moving along as normal. Oh dear God. I look around the cabin and find all eyes on me. All mouths agape, and a small child is crying. Oh, dear merciful God. I sheepishly look to the beautiful woman opposite me. Oh, dear, sweet, merciful God. I realize that having gazed around the cabin like a lunatic, I've then clenched my fists, closed my eyes, and screamed for no perceptible reason. The train comes to a halt, and the bell dings. I slowly move to the door. Turning to take one last look at my accidental audience, I take a slight bow. Before disembarking onto the platform of what a sign unhelpfully tells me is Kelmscott Station. The doors close, and a beautiful blonde girl, Proust in lap, stares confusedly at me through a train window. A voice from my memory quotes, "Everything great in life comes from the neurotics." Fucking Proust.